Hi there, it's your friend D, and I'm back with the threefold 3.3 for Isaiah 14, verses 18 to 21. Well, again, we are looking at this taunt that we can look at and think this is this is a lot to digest. So I was actually looking at it and thinking, talking to the Lord and saying, Lord, there's a lot going on here. There is a lot of content that I may not understand, being just me, not being a theologian or having a lot of understanding about the past history of what happened to Israel, or even really understanding um, all the biblical history and everything that's at the background. And and I think a lot of us may feel intimidated when we look at some of these, especially Old Testament texts, because we don't have a full understanding of some of the text. You know, uh, for me, I'm like, Lord, give me the New Testament. Let me talk about Jesus. I can talk about Jesus. You know, some of these other texts are a little tougher to talk about. Um, but the reality is, I know I talked about this a little bit earlier, about the Word of God, that it is um, so sweet, right? It is a juxtaposition of what was, what it is, and what is to come. And really, when we look at what was, we're talking about what was, more as a lesson for what will be. But what's more important is what is going to be. How does this affect you? How does that change who you are going to be? And more importantly, how is that going to change who you become and who you're going to raise your children to become, and your children's children? And as the church needs to mature, understanding that we are going to tough times as a church. We're going to an era where we are going to face tribulation, where the church is no longer going to be sitting back and just chilling as it has been, where we're going to have to rise up and stand up for Christ and mature again. How are we going to look at the word and glean from it and grow from it? So I'm looking at this text and I'm thinking to the Lord and speaking to God and listening to God and saying, what is it in this that affects me now and me in the future? Because most of what we've been talking about in this Isaiah 14 to date has been a lot to do with the fall of Lucifer. Also, about the Israelites coming out of exile and them coming back home. They had misbehaved, they had been punished, and they want to come back home. And then we're talking about the fall, how Lucifer had, gotten very proud and thought he was better than God and wanted to sit on the throne of God. And now we're reading about how he will be more of humiliated or pulled down to the place that he deserves to be. But how does that affect me? And then that's the question that I'm asking. How does that affect me? But a lot of what is in this text, it's talking about how this dishonor affects the children of this person, how this person's fall affects their children and their children's children. So it's not only this person who's going to be dishonored, but because of their sin and their worthless pride, the generations that follow have to suffer. And right there, that's where I come in. That's where I learn something. I learn that I'm not just doing this for me, that my actions do not just affect me. My actions affect my child and my grandchildren and my children's children. That's my lesson right there. Even if I pick nothing else from this text, even if I don't dive in and study more, there is something in this for me right now that I can learn, that I need to straighten up. I need to make sure that I'm walking aright, because it's not just about me. It's not just about me. My walk is not just about you. What you do affects your children. It affects those around you, even if you don't have children. Your actions roll over. They affect the people around you. So take that as your lesson for today. And always have those ears open. That second fold. Open your ears, because the Spirit is always speaking. That's it. That's my threefold 3.3 for Isaiah 14 verses 18 to 21. And remember, there is power in the Trinity.